The American League Division Series continues for the Yankees on Monday night as they play Game 2 of their series against the Royals. They lead the series 1-0. So we're going to talk some Yankees playoff baseball. We're going to do it with a guy who covers the Yankees for Sports Illustrated. His name is Pat Ragazzo. Joined me many times before, and Pat joins me now. Pat, what's going on?
Not much, Dex. It's playoff baseball, and the atmosphere is electric, and excited to come back on and chop it up with you. So thanks for having me.
No, always glad to have you, Pat. And Pat, look, Game 1, a little bit back and forth, tense at times, as you would expect from some playoff baseball. What were your major takeaways from the Yankees' victory in Game 1?
Well, some of the takeaways from Game 1 were how the Yankees got contributions from guys who aren't their big stars, such as Gleyber Torres had a home run at a leadoff spot, and Alex Verdugo, who we weren't even sure if he'd be starting in the postseason, whether it was going to be Verdugo or Jason Dominguez. He made a major impact with his glove, saving a run, a very nice sliding catch in left field, and then had the big go-ahead RBI hit late in the game. So the Yankees were able to get by without getting major production and impact from some of their star guys. And then on the pitching side, they got Garrett Cole when he wasn't as sharp, but he was still able to gut through 5+ innings, give up 3 earned runs, and allowing 4 total. And then they got some pretty good performances out of the bullpen, particularly Clay Holmes, and who gave them 5 outs of work, and Luke Weaver getting a 4-out save. So the Yankees were able to win a close one, a little back and forth action in Game 1, and they got a little bit of momentum going into Game 2 tomorrow night.
Yeah, they got a little momentum going into Game 2. Now, you mentioned some of the Yankees not as prominent players or role players stepped up in terms of the lineup, but we saw Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. Both guys went 0 for 4. So, anytime the Stars go 0 for in the playoffs, there's going to be some concern. Do you have any concern with what you've seen from the Yankee sluggers here at the plate heading into Game 2, or do you think they're primed to bounce back?
I think it's a little early to have some concerns. I know Judge, who started off his career with a major strong performances in the postseason, and then his last couple go-arounds, 2020, 2022, he's had some struggles, but he's coming off a historic season where he's the front runner to win the American League MVP award, and I think he's really going to make his mark in the postseason, as well as Stanton too, whose bat is in there to hit home runs and do damage at the plate in the middle of the order. And I think they should both be fine, because this is the first year that they have Juan Soto protecting them in that lineup. So yeah, I think it's a little too early to have some concerns about those guys, but the Yankees do need them to be 2 of their biggest driving forces in the middle of that order.
No doubt that they will need them. I agree. It's just one game in the playoffs. Things can change in a game, can change in Game 2. We will see what happens there. Now, speaking of Game 2, Carlos Rodon gets the start for the Yankees. What does he need to do? What does he need to show you and the Yankee fans in terms of shutting down this Royals lineup in Game 2? What should his approach be heading into the second game?
Well, with Rodon, he finished the season very strong. He had a 2.68 ERA in his final 7 starts of the regular season. So he just needs to go out there and attack hitters and try and do some soft contact and get some strikeouts out of that Royals lineup, which is tough when they have Bobby Witt Jr., who's probably going to be the runner-up of the AL MVP award behind Judge this year. So the Royals have a pretty scrappy lineup with some talent in there, but Rodon just needs to pitch to the form that we saw winding down the regular season down the stretch to step up in what's going to be his first postseason start at Yankee Stadium. So the atmosphere should help and the adrenaline should help, but there's some high stakes there, and Rodon's just going to have to pitch to his strengths.
Yeah, intrigued to see how he does in his first postseason start at Yankee Stadium. You're right, the fans will be pumped up for that one for sure. But speaking of that game, they got the Game 1 win, Pat. We understand that. But manager Aaron Boone, he's going to talk about there are things they could clean up, things they could do better. What does this team need to do better in terms of their performance in Game 2 as compared to Game 1 so they can take a commanding 2-0 lead in this series on Monday night?
Well, really, from what we saw in Game 1, the Yankees struggled hitting with runners in scoring position. They were 2 for 13 in those chances on Saturday night. So they just need some timely hitting, some clutch hitting, and And as we mentioned before, they really need contributions out of their superstar Aaron Judge, as well as their big middle of the order bat in Carlos Stanton, and some impact play from Juan Soto as well, who had a good first night in his first playoff game as a Yankee. So more timely hitting on the offensive side, and they need their Rodon to be a little sharper than Cole was in game one, even though they were able to get out a close win.
All right, we will see what the Yankees can do. Game 2, Monday night at the stadium up in the Boogie Down Bronx. Pat Ragazzo will be there. Does a great job covering the Yankees for Sports Illustrated. Pat, thank you for the time, and we will talk to you down the road as the Yankees continue their push for another World Series title.
Sounds good. Thanks so much for having me, Dexter.